Hello, parents and guardians of students in Algebra 1. This is a quick tutorial video to show you our class website and to introduce you to this resource that your student should be using on a daily basis, and then I want to encourage you to use if ever you need to help him with anything pertaining to Algebra 1. So here we go. On the home screen, if you didn't happen to come to the mini schedule night, I've got a really nice article posted. It's a very short read, but it talks about the importance in the struggle. Getting good at math, it's going to be a struggle for everybody. And like all things in life, to get good at something, it takes practice. And practice takes time. And that is something I really, really want my students to understand. Is like, no one is good at math right away, and everyone struggles with it. And it's not easy all the time. But you can't give up. You have to keep going. You have to try. It takes time. It takes practice. And so that's something they need to learn and accept if they really want to get good. So let's jump into what this website holds for Algebra 1. You can see on the top, it has the different tabs for General Math, Pre-Algebra, and Algebra 1. We'll go ahead and look at the Algebra 1 drop-down menu. We have chapter notes, tutorial videos, web resources, awesome math songs, questions of the week, and business of the day. So in the chapter notes, these are something that your student should be opening up on a nightly basis, because part of my homework is taking notes for the next section in the book. And what these notes are is simply notes that I have handwritten, that I've taken from the book myself and scanned, and I want them to copy these notes down. Hopefully in time, after enough practice, they can start seeing the critical information that I'm pulling from the sections, and they can emulate that, taking their own notes. But right now I want them to copy my notes, so they're making sure that they're getting the critical information, they're getting all the vocabulary, they're taking down example problems, and they're doing all the guided practice problems that the book offers. And so these are interactive notes they take on a nightly basis. They will copy all the notes down. They will write down the guided practice problems, and then they will work out those guided practice problems to make sure they understand the material that they just studied, to be able to put those skills into practice. And so that is part of the notes on a nightly basis. Now, speaking of these guided practice problems, if for whatever reason the notes and reading the section in the book wasn't enough, or looking at the examples, they still can't get how to do these guided practice problems. Well, that is okay, because back on the website, under the tutorial videos, you will notice that every section of the book, it is titled with the lesson number and the actual title of it. But then under that is what is a we have the guided practice problem set. And what these are videos that I've created based on those guided practice problems that students are doing from the notes. And what I've done is I go ahead and work out the problems with the students. And so if they're having trouble doing the problems, here's another mini lesson and kind of a review for them. And then I go ahead and I actually do the problems themselves, so they can see me and listen to me talk through how to do each problem, and so they can check their work against mine to make sure they're doing those problems properly. These videos, I want them to check out on a nightly basis. Seriously, I'm not doing these for my benefit. I'm doing them for my students' benefit, so I really want them to utilize these as a resource, make sure they're doing those practice problems properly, so by the time they come to class the next day, they have some solid questions ready to ask, or they already understand the material and they're ready to jump right into doing the day's lesson in class. So that's the whole goal of this kind of flipped classroom approach, and studying at home and coming to class ready and prepared to go. So again, the guided practice problems in the tutorial videos. The bold tutorial videos, all the bold titles, those are videos that I have found online, and I find them very beneficial myself, so I think that the students will also benefit from them. So if they're just not quite getting the concept, they can just refer to one of those videos and check out what what there is to see in the content and skills that someone else is explaining in their own way. And so just another resource to fall back on. Farther down in the web resources page, we have even more resources to check out. And so this first one, Math Help for Algebra 1, this is a resource for our book specifically. So they can click on that and they can type in the page number, and the book will go into practice problems, example problems, and tutorial videos on the concepts learned at any specific page that they type in. Virtual Nerd and Khan Academy are similar, except in the fact that you type in the concept or skill focus, and they'll come up with videos on how to do those types of problems. So again, the whole purpose of this is so students do not go home and then simply say, I don't get it, and therefore don't try or don't do work, and just come to school the next day telling me I didn't understand it. I want to eliminate that from the vocabulary. There are resources out there to help them understand the material, to help them at least get to the point where they can make an attempt at home before coming to school and saying, oh, I just didn't understand it. So these are the resources they can use. These are the resources you can guide them to use. Farther down in our pull down menu, awesome math songs. I just like math songs. I don't know why, but I do. So I'm sharing them with the kids. There's some really talented people on YouTube making some really clever songs all about math. And so some people like learning by listening, and I think it's a great way. So if your student is into music at all, those might be really beneficial for some critical concepts that we're going to learn this year. Questions of the week is something we're doing in Algebra 1 where these are, what they are is kind of mini lessons dealing with concepts and skills that we're not necessarily learning in the book at that moment in time, but they're either skill sets that I feel the students should already have or will need to have. And so here's a good way to practice. And these problems are assigned at the beginning of the week, and they have, the whole week to work on them, to work with each other, to ask parents and guardians for help or assistance on them, to come up with some kind of deepening their critical thinking skills and their problem solving skills. And the other reason I like these problems is because I don't know how many times I've heard a student ask me, Mr. Silva, when are we ever going to use this? Well, all these problems are in my personal life. I've created them because of when I'm using math. And so here is kind of here's when I use math a lot in my life. And so it's another great way for students to see that math is important in and out of the classroom, especially out of the classroom. And the last thing on our tab is the business of the day. And this is how I communicate with students on a daily basis. If I need to push a link out to them or give them some important information, instead of sending it through an email or through Google Classroom, I'm just going to post it on Business of the Day. Mainly, this tab is going to be used for correction videos. So quiz corrections and test corrections. Students have to do corrections for every quiz and every test that we take in class because I feel it's very beneficial to learn from your mistakes. But they have to learn from them, not guess their way through them. So I want them doing the problems correctly on their corrections. So what I do is I actually create videos for the quizzes and tests that students will then go through or fast forward to the problems they got wrong, and they can work the problem out with me while I'm doing it. And it's through education. It's just like the guided practice problems are. And so they can turn in correct test or quiz corrections. And so like this next week, they have test corrections for chapter 1. And so this is where they will go to find that link to work on those corrections. So if they forget, you can also guide them here. Or if they're having trouble with something on a correction sheet, you know where to turn to look for the video to help them with that. So that's what the Business of the Day tab mainly is used for. And it's just going to be by date. So the chronological order will just keep building as the year goes on. Speaking of building as the year goes on, if you look at the website really carefully, you'll notice that it's not done. I am building it this year, so it's brand new. So I am simply a few lessons ahead of the students at most. And so this will be a work in progress all year long. So sorry you can't skip to chapter number 10 and see what's coming up, because I haven't gotten that far. This will be under construction all year, so please be patient with me. But please, 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 please encourage your student to use this website as a resource on a daily basis, because I think it's going to make his time in Algebra 1 much more successful and effective in terms of learning content and skills this year. If you ever have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. I'm pretty good at responding to emails that day of, if not the next day. And you all have my email, so don't ever hesitate to contact me. And I hope we have a great year. Look forward to getting to know all of you during the course of the year. And thanks again for valuing education and sending your son to Palma.